Hello, my name is David Rodriguez, and today I'm going to be coming at you with 5 small tips that'll help you improve both your training sessions and your workout sessions. So let's get to it. So my first tip is dosing yourself with salt. And what I mean by dosing yourself with salt is 15 minutes before a session, take like half a teaspoon of salt, huck it back dry, and then wash it down with 8 to 12 ounces of water. And so what that does is that it replaces all the salt that you're going to end up losing during the course of your session, whether you're tricking or you're working out or whatever it is. And it's beneficial because that salt that's coming in to replace the salt that you're losing is going to help you in your body with your sodium potassium pump, which is what helps deals with action potentials with your nerves. It's what helps your nerves fire, and then what helps gets that signal to your muscles to be able to push and do more, as opposed to if you had less salt in your body as you're sweating, and then you can't do as much anymore because those action potentials aren't getting to your muscles and it's not firing as hard. And also it helps with preventing heat strokes, preventing heat cramps, things of that nature, because the sodium itself is a vasodilator. And so what that means is that vasodilation is so your arteries or blood vessels in general start off here. When you take something that's a vasodilator, they expand, right? So when they expand, it gets closer to the skin, and you're able to release more heat. It helps you sweat more, helps you cool off better. And personally, I can feel an extreme difference between salted versus unsalted sessions. So when I have a salted session, I feel like I can push just as hard towards the end of the session as opposed to an unsalted session where at the beginning, of course you're feeling good. In the middle, you're still kind of going along, but then towards the end and by the end, you're almost like you're either gassed or you're harder. You can't really pull out your harder tricks. You can't push that harder weight towards the end. So again, like I said, so try taking that half teaspoon of salt dry, taking it with 8 to 12 ounces of water. People like to I use regular table salt. I don't have enough money to go out and buy the Redmond's real salt. Apparently that's what most people like to buy, and I'll link it down below or give you a source. The information can be expanded upon by, so where I got this from is from Dr. James Dinicolantonio. I believe I'm saying his name right. If not, I'll just obviously spell it out correctly underneath me right here. He's the one, and he was the doctor that I looked towards, that I found, talking about salt and its benefits for performance. And so yeah, give that a shot. Tell me if it helps. Tip number 2. Having intent. So what I mean by having intent is that a lot of times, and I've been around it ever since, 7th grade, so at least 10 plus years of my life I've been training. I guess not that really means anything, but I've always, now and especially during tricking, people tend to have, they don't know what they want to do, and I always hear it all the time. At least once per session I always hear somebody, they're like, oh, I don't know what I do. I don't know what I want to work on. I have no idea. And then by the end of the session, they're kind of like, I don't feel like I accomplished anything. They're just kind of like drifting around. And I'm sure you know those people. They kind of just drift around. They screw around. And then they never get any better. And then they get upset. And they're like, why aren't I getting any better? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? How are you getting so good? And it's because there's an intent. There's an intent behind the training session, right? So whether that intent is to do trying to learn twisting better, so probably you're either drilling B-twist, you're drilling corks, you're drilling fulls, back fulls, or cart fulls, whichever. You have that intent behind the session saying, hey, this is what I want to get better at, this is what I'm going to do. So you do your exercise X amount of times, while the other person is and maybe you might even be suffering from yourself, where you're you kind of drift from here to there, and you're kind of overwhelmed because there's you have to learn kicks, you have to learn twist, you have to learn swings, you have to learn ambi tricks if that's what you're in, if that's what you do, if that's what you're into. There's so many different things that you might kind of just get lost. But having intent, well, again, whether the intent is to train kicks, the intent is to focus on flips, if the intent is doing multiple swings or swinging out of things, make sure you have an intent behind what you're doing. And I promise, your sessions, you'll immediately come from the session feeling like, man, like I actually accomplished what I set out to do. And so this goes actually right into my third tip, is keeping a journal. So just about every big good tricker that I know of, they always keep a journal of some kind. This is my journal. As you can see, I've written it a lot extensively. I also do just regular workouts, so I write down what I like to do. So this is just like a general overview of my workouts, of what I've done in the past. So when it comes to like training sessions, I will usually just write down what I want to do. If I have a couple combos that I want to write, I'll just write them down, write them out, and then I'll put check marks whether I completed the combo, or typically I'll put X's if I didn't complete the combo. And then at the end of the session, I will typically write like, well, what helped? What felt good about the session? Was I able to do the tricks? Why or why not? Did I feel like I was off? Did I feel like I couldn't do it? And because, I guess here's another mini tip, record your sessions. Because once you record your sessions, you can look back, you can come back and you can write down why it didn't work. So when you're doing the combos, you may not understand why something's not working. And then when you go back and you review, looking at the footage, you can write down in your journal and be like, oh, this is why, like, whatever, my hook was off, or I don't have enough inversion to be able to pop I don't have like enough inversion in my rise to pop up in to my flip, or to pop into my gainer, or whatever it is that I'm doing. So keeping a journal, big help. It's helped me a whole lot. And so again, now this segues into my fourth tip, is being honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself of what you think what you can do and what you can't do. So if you can't even single cork, don't go out and try to double cork, or like cork snafu or anything like that. Or same thing, if you don't really understand what you're doing in your full, you probably shouldn't be going for double full. I know that kind of seems like self-explanatory, but for some people, I'm sure you know those people, and even sometimes I myself suffer from it sometimes, that I have gotten one move and then I'm immediately just looking towards, okay, I've done it once, who cares, landed it once, whatever, let's move on to the next thing. And it doesn't really work that way. At least it doesn't work that way for me. I'm not a super genius at tricking, so it doesn't work for me that way. So you have to go back. So you have to keep drilling that prereq, right? And then you go rounds, and then shurikens, and then hypers, and then 1.5. And then once you start feeling like everything just becomes easy, then you know what? Move up. There's nothing wrong with being confident in yourself. You should have confidence in your tricks. However, you should never overestimate yourself. Overestimating yourself typically leads to poor sessions, and it leads you to be more prone to injuries as you're trying the higher level tricks that you're obviously not ready for yet. So my fifth and final tip is breathing exercises, breath work. And I know that kind of sounds weird. Typically, you can use breath work for a complete number of things. Most people, especially, most people, when they breathe, are really breathing heavy in through their chest, right? And that leads to increased levels. Like even just normally breathing through your chest leads to an increase in cortisol levels, which cortisol naturally happens when you work out. However, continuous elevated levels of cortisol coursing through your body is not a good thing. So to towards the end of the session, I like to do box breathing sessions at the end. And so what I have a YouTube video, I'll probably link that somewhere, or just go ahead and go look it up, right? So box breathing helps you be able to bring yourself, so this is like normal baseline, at least as far as stress, and then when you work out, right, your baseline goes all, not your baseline, but your stress level goes up here, because either you're trying to learn something new, your body's put under some kind of tension, you're doing something, right? You're deviating from where you were, so now you're up here, so now your body's kind of all frazzled, and now it needs to go back into recovery, right? So by incorporating breathing exercises and box breathing at the end of your session, you can bring yourself from being in this state of activity and stress below your normal baseline and relax, and that allows you to put your body into a more optimal state of recovery. And even before exercises, you can use breathing in order to help set or reset the way you breathe and make sure that you're intaking good amounts of oxygen while you're doing your exercises. So I do this, so I've recently trying this out, seems to be working out fairly well so far. It's called crocodile breathing. Again, I'll link this because I actually got most of these exercises. These exercises did not come up with. This is when I'm not claiming anything. These are just things that helped me. I learned most of these things from Dr. John Rusin, and I will link the article that I found all these breathing exercises on for y'all to check out and that are explained in more depth. So it was crocodile breathing, and even during the middle of the workout, right? So you can kind of take, and especially when it comes to approaching bigger tricks that that you're right there on the cusp on making, and it's or you've landed it before but it's still kind of scary to land, and so it's either kind of one of those 50-50 things where you'll either land it or you crash it, and so you're kind of so you got that heart rate going and the nerves kind of start building up. So you can do one of two things. I can't remember what he calls it, but either way, you take your breathing, or you take a breath in, you go, and that specific, those 3 short, quick exhalations prime your nervous system to say okay, hey, we're about to go do something heavy, and it actually leads to higher recruitment in your central nervous system to get you to push into your big trick or whatever it is that you're doing. Or what I like to do sometimes, especially because sometimes nerves can get to me too much, I like to breathe in through my stomach. Sorry, my camera cut out on me. So again, like I said, my nerves kind of get to me. I breathe in through my stomach for about 5 to 7 seconds. Exhale, and I can immediately feel my heartbeat decrease, right? To get me in, trying to focus in, honing in on that trick or that big lift or whatever it is that you're doing. And yeah, so those are my 5 tips. Hopefully try them out. Hope they help you. Let me know if you have any questions regarding, again, like I said, everything that I talked about earlier. I will link it in the description, the John Rusin thing, and the and James Dinicolantonio for the salt. And yeah, have a good day.